Right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Welcome everyone to the third session of virtual symposium. And tonight we having the Middle East experts, Dr. Syaza, assistant professor from Department of Political Science, Kuliah KIRKHS, IIUM. So before we go further with the topic tonight, let me introduce about Virtual IIM a little bit. So Virtual IIM is an independent student movement, which we are enthusiastically uphold students' intellectual activism, and currently we based in Yang Gombak. And tonight's session is a virtual symposium, which we discuss on intellectual matters or what happens around us today in true perspective. So we don't really talk about opinion based lah. We talk about what's the science behind that, or what's the philosophy behind that. So as for now, we are at the fourth session of virtual symposium. Before this, we have Ibn Khaldun and the Decolonization of Knowledge with Dr. Prof. Syed Farid, and the early history of global capitalism with Imran Rashid, and John Rawls' Theory of Justice and Introduction with Brother Harman Baharom. So tonight, we're having a very hot topic, which is Taliban 2.0. Should they be trusted? Can they be trusted? So tonight we have Dr. Syaza. Dr. Syaza is an assistant professor at the Department of Political Science, IIUM. And she has published numerous articles based on her interests, including identity politics, populism, political Islam, and her area of specialization is in comparative politics, specifically in democratization and Middle East politics. And Dr. Syaza has a degrees from US and UK, masters at UK, LSE if I'm not mistaken, and PhD at IIUM. This year, right? So the format for tonight is quite simple. We will be hearing the sharing from Dr. Syaza regards to the topics tonight. So we heard a lot of opinions. We live in the post-truth, postmodern world where everyone thinks that their opinion is needed. So there's a lot of opinion about what happened in Afghanistan today. So for Dr. Syaza, some people say that Taliban 2.0 is so much different between Taliban 20 years ago, and some perspectives say that they are still the same. 20 years ago they bombed the heritage of Afghanistan and so on and so forth, and they deny the rights of women. So we will hear from Syaza, but actually, or can Taliban 2.0 be trusted? I pass the floor to Dr. Syaza.
Thank you very much, Huzayl. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone, and good evening. So during Huzayl's introduction, he mentioned that we're trying to get to the bottom of this based on facts, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, what I'm going to do is kind of my opinion, because as you guys are aware, we don't really know yet where they are going, but like Huzayl correctly pointed out, it's hopefully my opinion is based on some kind of ideas and framework rather than just out of the blue. Okay, so having said that, if you guys would allow me, I'm going to share my presentation now. Okay, I believe you guys can see it already. So as has already been said, this is the title, Taliban 2.0, can they be trusted? To be honest with you guys, I'm excited as well with all of you to talk about this, because previously for my own, study and my work, when I talk about the Taliban, I've looked at it from the perspective of American foreign policy, American national security, you know, how they fought with Al-Qaeda and things like that, as Al-Qaeda being the terrorist organization, not the Taliban. But today I'm not going to go there. Today I'm going to kind of have well, Huzayl promised me it's going to be a relaxed setting, right? So I hope to learn from you guys as well, as much as you will learn from me. It's interesting to look deeper into Afghanistan, in the society itself, in the politics, and on the Taliban more specifically. So firstly, why do I choose this topic? I mean, Huzayl has already talked about it on how we hear these two sides, right? On one hand, they're saying the Taliban has changed. On one hand, a lot of people are saying, not really, these are just window dressing. We don't know what's going to happen yet. To give a clear example, I have here two quotes from two gentlemen in the British Army. Well, Nick Carter on the left is the Chief of the Defense Staff. And I just want to show that even they have different opinions. So this makes it much more interesting and much more difficult for the rest of us. I mean, these are people who have worked on the ground in Afghanistan itself. So they have different views on the Taliban. So what about all of us? So I'm just going to read on the left there. We may well discover, if we give them, meaning the Taliban, the space, that this Taliban is of course more reasonable. But what we absolutely have to remember is that they are not a homogeneous organization. Well, I need you guys to keep that in mind. The Taliban is a group of disparate tribal figures that come from all over rural Afghanistan. So on one hand, we have someone saying they've changed. They've become more reasonable, they've become more pragmatic. But I said you need to remember that they are not a homogeneous organization, because the Taliban has a vertical and a horizontal organization. They work with various militant groups in the country, and they have a top-down approach, obviously. So it's difficult for the leadership to control what happens on the ground. So that is the idea. So while they might look reasonable from what they're saying in Doha and now in the country, but there are other different groups that are associated with the Taliban. So this makes it a bit more complicated. And then we have on the right there, the Taliban need international recognition. They've taken power by force and they are now desperate for international recognition from China, from Russia, and the West. They need that. So of course, they're going to use these charming words about equal opportunities for women by Charlie Herbert, former British Army Major General. So again, we have on the other hand, someone who says, wait a minute, take a pause. This is just, like I said, window dressing for them to gain international recognition. It's important for them to gain international recognition because during their first foray in 1996 to 2001, they were basically isolated. This made governing difficult. And they've learned from the past 20 years, you know, if you want to really survive, you need support from the international community. So that's what they're doing, alleged by others. Okay. So we can't talk about Afghanistan and the Taliban without going 40 years back and start from the 70s, right? I see that quite a number of you are my former students, so I'm sorry if these are repetitive, but yeah, it might be new information for others. So what happened was Afghanistan in the 70s, early 70s was a monarchy, but then it was toppled in a coup by the king, Zahir Shah's own cousin and former prime minister, Daud Khan, and became a republic, but that did not last long. In 78, that government was toppled by the PDPA, the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, a communist party basically. But this party was not as popular, right? They are especially not popular outside of Kabul with their socialist policy and whatnot. They are weak, basically. So in this situation, in the Cold War context, as we know, the Soviet came in. basically to support this government. And when the Soviet arrived, they stayed for roughly 10 years. They started to live in 88, finally living in 89. So during this 10 years period, again, we are all familiar, I think, with the backstory. So we had Mujahideen fighters, right? Afghanis who were fighting against this godless communist regime, the Soviet, and they were supported by others as well. So meaning not just Afghanis, they had people from all over the Muslim world coming in to fight in this jihad, which was, how should I put it? They were successful because of the idea of the jihad, right? The jihad against this foreign intervention, who were communists as well. And these fighters were called the Arab Afghans, and one of them, of course, was Osama bin Laden. We'll talk more about him later. What else? So they were able to defend the country, I might say, and the Soviet retreated in 89, and then the communist government came back to power, but they did not last, only until 92. And then Afghan went into civil war among various Mujahideen groups, 7 if I'm not mistaken among them. So it was chaos basically, right? Civil war, no one wants that. So what happened in 94 was a small group of local men in Kandahar, in the south west of the country, came up basically. They were the Taliban. When they first came into the scene, the story is that they were fighting against, not fighting, they were, fighting, and they were protecting from a group of looters, a group of petty criminals who were raping women in the area. So the Taliban came to basically to protect the people, to protect the women, to protect their honor. I'm not a Taliban apologist, but like Huzayl said earlier on, we're here to learn from different sides, different angles, to understand really what's going on. So that was the beginning for the Taliban. And then they were able to spread across the country. 95, they got Herat in the west, if I'm not mistaken. And 96, they captured Kabul, and that began their rule. From 96 until 2001, for 5 years, they were there. So that's the background. This is the founder and leader, I guess, Mullah Omar. So yeah, that's what I said earlier. He led a small group of young Kandahari men against a gang of local criminals who had been raping and pillaging the area. So they were there basically to provide law and order, right? They were there for 5 years, like I said, reached Kabul in September of 1996. So now, this is what most of us are interested in, I think. I mean, in this course, this is what they talk about anyway, about how they treat minorities, how they treat women. So here is where we see Taliban 1.0, what I call Taliban 1.0, the original Taliban. So they had quite a strict moral code, which is based on the Deobandi movement, where most of them came from, and also from the tribal customary law of the Pashtuns, where most of them are Pashtuns. The code is called Pashtunwali. So from this, they have this strict version, what some would call Islamic law. But anyway, so we are familiar with this. Women were banned from working, banned from studying, banned from political participation. Women were confined to their homes unless accompanied by a mahram, of course, a male relative. And when they do go out, they had to wear the burqa. They banned flying kites, playing soccer, playing music, except for religious chants. Because why they banned flying kites and playing soccer? Because they felt that these activities were wasteful. It's you don't get anything out of it. It's not Islamic, it's not religious. Total ban on music, movies, dancing, television. They tried to force even foreign NGOs to separate male from female staff. They held public executions. For example, after they captured Kabul, in 96, they tortured the former president, Muhammad Najibullah, and they hanged him at a traffic light. So this is the extent of what they did. So here we can start to compare, right? So that's what they did before in 96. But when they captured Kabul again last week on 15 August, this did not really happen. Of course, the president already left, but they also did not have a public execution on any government officials. So this is one thing we can again think of. If they are different, this is one example. So yeah, my students already have seen this meme before. Men who think women belong to kitchen are the same men who want a female doctor when their wife gets pregnant. This is the irony, isn't it? That they say that. So the Deobandi movement, they really believe that women's place are not in the public sphere, basically, right? And more than that, they believe that women should not be taught. They should not read or write. This is the belief of the founder anyway. So this is the extent of how they view women. Women should not go to school, should not work. So it's funny, if this is the case, if women can't study, gain an education, how are they going to help in this kind of situation when you need female healthcare workers? So the thing is, even back then in the 90s, the Taliban was already quite pragmatic, I might say, because just 2 years later, in 98, they restart to allow women healthcare workers. I mean, after 2 years of realizing this is not working, you know, not allowing women to work is not working for society. And you guys need to remember, this is following, what, 15 years of war. So a lot of women were left widowed. They left. They lost their husband. So if they're not allowed to work, how are they going to survive? So these are the things that also led them to become more pragmatic. So here's the reality. What I showed earlier was what we've always heard about. That's their moral code. But the reality is it's a bit more nuanced. It's not as clear cut. It's not as, okay, this is haram, you cannot do it. It's not as simple as that. Kids actually still flew kites. They still played soccer on the streets in the 90s. And when it comes to women's education, actually it's not like the Taliban came and they said, no female education and that's the end of it. They were pushed back. Leaders from the communities, different communities, even some Taliban members, in fact, they criticized this idea of, you know, anti-girl education. They wanted their girls to be allowed to learn something. So what the Taliban did was they allowed girls to learn up until they were 8 years old, mostly religious study. But, you know, at least there's something there. And also they tolerated and protected home and NGO-run schools. There were, you know, underground schools based in different homes, people's homes, and also foreign NGOs. They run schools, and the Taliban knew about it, and they were allowed to operate. So this shows that, again, it's not as simple as they can't do it, so they don't do it. Actually, there were some leeways here and there. So this brought us then to the US invasion in 2001. Again, just a recap. I know you guys are familiar with it. So on the morning of September 11, 2001, 4 airplanes were hijacked by 19 young men. 2 went into the World Trade Center. 1 went to the Pentagon, and the last one crashed in a field. So out of these 19 hijackers, none of them were Afghani, right? That's the thing we need to remember. None of them were Afghani. So why did America invaded Afghanistan first before they went to Iraq, which also, again, none of the hijackers were Iraqis. So the reason for Afghanistan is, of course, because of Osama bin Laden. Remember the guy who were part of the Mujahideen against the Soviet. He was living in Afghanistan under the protection of the Taliban. And he was alleged to be the mastermind behind September 11. So America demanded Afghanistan to hand him over but Taliban said shows the proof that he was actually behind these attacks. And then America demanded again and threatened, right? If you don't hand him over, then we're going to invade your country. And the Taliban said, okay, but we'll send to a third neutral country, if I'm not mistaken, Pakistan. But again, on the condition that they can prove, they have the evidence to show that Osama bin Laden was behind the attacks. Since that did not happen, so America came and attacked Afghanistan in October, just a month after September 11. By November, American forces were already in Kabul, and by December, they were already in Kandahar. Remember Kandahar, that's the city where it's basically the Taliban stronghold where they started. So just within 2 months, the Taliban government collapsed in Afghanistan and America took over. So that's that. Oh, and also the thing is, America thought this is going to be an easy war in the sense that they're going to round up the Taliban in the north, they're going to capture Osama bin Laden, and that's the end. But of course, Osama bin Laden and the other top leaders, they escaped to Pakistan. And Osama bin Laden was only killed about 10 years later in 2011. So it became this long war, right? So we've heard this so many times. What was America doing? If they're really there to defeat the Taliban, they already did that. So why stay until 20 years? And then we hear all of these shifts and policies about nation building in Afghanistan so that it could no longer be a base for other terror organizations. So they stayed there until last week. So this is when we see what I would call Taliban 2.0 from 2004 until present today. Some people call it the neo-Taliban, and some people say they are much more pragmatic. Even then, even post 2011, not post 2021, post 2011. After they were defeated, they disbanded, but very quickly around 2003, they regrouped. They came back together. And they start the insurgency that lasted until recently. But when they regrouped, they decided to focus more on local law and order issue. I mean, this is what the Taliban has been about anyway in the 90s, more on security, more on safety of the people. They're not interested in a larger narrative on Islam versus the West. That is Al-Qaeda, right? So what's the difference between these two, the Taliban and Al-Qaeda? Al-Qaeda was a global terrorist network with an aim to defeat the Great Satan, basically, America and the West. Not so Taliban. The Taliban was not, they don't have that ideological war with America. They're more of, we want to govern Afghanistan. This is our country. These are our people. We want to protect our border. Afghans are very, protecting their border has been a very, very top priority for them for a long time. So that was their main priority. So that's the difference between Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And much of their critique during this time has been towards the Afghan government, meaning that, like I said, they're not there to attack Americans per se. The insurgency was to attack the Afghan government because they believe that the government was propped up by America, by the West. Thus, it's illegitimate. That's the idea, right? This government is put there by outsiders, making them illegitimate. So that is the basis for their insurgency. But even back in September 2009, 12 years ago, the Taliban already emphasized that the emirate, that's what they call themselves, right? The Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, wanted good and positive relations with all neighbors. So we can see even in foreign policy, back in 2009, they're already talking about, we want normalization. We want to have relations with other countries. So what's going on today is not really like a sudden shift or a surprise to a lot of people. But from 2006, the insurgency stepped up their attacks on both foreign forces and also Afghan security forces themselves, the army and the police. And because of this increased violence and attacks, in 2009, President Barack Obama announced additional 17,000 American troops to deal with the insurgency, right? To basically to fight against the Taliban. But that what they call the surge actually failed in the sense that they could not truly defeat the Taliban. The Taliban was still there. You bring in thousands and thousands of Americans, the Taliban was still there. They still hold on to the country. They still, they still get support from the people. So President Obama shift his strategy. It's like, military action was not working. Maybe we should start talking to the Taliban now. We should bring them to the negotiating table. Of course, this is at the cost of 3,500 plus coalition soldiers dead, more than 2,000 are Americans, 40,000 plus Afghan civilians dead, more than 64,000 plus Afghan security forces dead, almost 1 trillion spent by America. These are all the latest figures. So there were a lot of costs basically, right? And it's not sustainable, and it's not bringing America closer to their goal. So they decide, okay, let's talk to them. Let's bring the Taliban to the negotiating table. So what we had was these 2 rounds of talks, what we call Doha 1 and Doha 2. So Doha 1 was from 2009 until 2014, right after the surge. During these talks, Doha 1 round, the early talks revolve around where the office should be. The Afghan government acknowledged that they need to have an office for the Taliban where they can negotiate without threat to their safety. The Afghan government actually suggested Turkey or Saudi Arabia, but the Taliban refused, saying that these 2 countries, they are ideologically close to the Afghan government, so they may not be neutral. So they propose Qatar, because they believe Qatar to be more neutral and balanced. So in 2013, they opened the office in Doha. So that's the picture there. But the talks were not successful, right? So there were no peace agreement, nothing of the sort, because the 2 just couldn't find, the 2 being the government, the Afghan government and the Taliban just couldn't find a middle ground. And also around this time, Mullah Omar, the guy's picture I showed earlier, he passed away in 2013. So there was a leadership vacuum. So without the world knowing, there were internal rivalry among Taliban leadership as well. And I was going to ask if you guys remember what happened in 2017, but I think you can't answer me. So if you remember what happened in 2017, what happened to Qatar, the blockade on Qatar. So that makes it difficult for Qatar to act as a host because they need to, bring together different parties to the table. So all of this kind of derail the talks for Doha 1. But then they restarted again, Doha 2 in 2018 until last year, 2020. This is during President Trump, of course. In 2018, they tried again to have this negotiation, this peace talk, but it failed because the Taliban was still, the insurgency was still active. There were attacks on civilians, on Afghani forces. Same in 2019, they tried it again at the end of 2019, same thing. Because of the intense fighting, they could not. And then finally, America was able to had a negotiation, had a deal with the Taliban in 2020. So we had the 2020 peace accord last year. Between America and the Taliban. There were 7 conditions in that peace accord. America, part of it is like America would leave. America would reduce her troops in a few months. America would leave in 14 months. The Taliban should not attack American forces. They should try to, reduce the intensity of the violence. Then they could talk to the Afghan government. They agreed, well, they did not agree, but the Taliban said they would release prisoners. Afghan government should also release prisoners, and many things. They would stop, they meaning the Taliban would cut relations with Al-Qaeda. So all of this is part of the 2020 peace accord. Why 2020? If you guys can think of that, it's because it was the presidential election year for Donald Trump. So Donald Trump was basically losing a lot on the domestic front. So he was trying to get as many wins as he can in foreign policy. So that's why he really pushed for this kind of foreign policies in the Middle East. If you guys remember, 2020 was the year that he brokered the deal between Israel and a few Arab countries. So we had this peace accord. So this peace accord ties to what we're seeing this year, this 2021 offensive. With America saying that she would leave, so this gave the Taliban more space to conduct their offensive, which started in May this year. It started in the northeast. Why May? Because again, America was withdrawing troops, especially starting in June. So they started their offensive in the north, which is very interesting because the north is actually very strongly against the Taliban. Remember, their stronghold was in the south, not the north. So when they were able to capture the north, this created kind of like a psychological boost among the Afghani peoples, in that, wow, the Taliban are really powerful in a sense. They can come in, they can control these places. This makes it easier for them to continue their offensive all the way towards Kabul last week. So that's what happened. Here are just some points about the peace accord. Based on publicly available information, the Taliban has perhaps only met 2 of the 7 conditions in the peace accord. They've released 1,000 Afghan prisoners, that's for sure, and they have not attacked. Well, did I say no? Yeah, maybe no attack on retreating American forces. So they kept to these 2 promises. However, international and domestic observers have not been able to confirm the Taliban has severed its relationship with Al-Qaeda. They said yes, as recent as last week. They said, yep, they've cut all ties with Al-Qaeda. They're really serious about this international recognition. But no one can independently confirm that. According to a May 2020 UN report, the Taliban had met with Al-Qaeda repeatedly in 2019 and early 2020. But again, to give them kind of a benefit, this was before the peace accord. But a lot of observers are saying, look, Taliban and Al-Qaeda have very close relations, both tribal and marital relations. So can they really just cut it off just like that? So this relates to our discussion today about, can the Taliban be trusted? So these are some promises that they made. Can they keep to those promises? And this would provide us with this ability to judge where they're going from here. The last point there, since the US-Taliban accord, violence actually increased. Part of the agreement was they need to reduce violence, but actually increased last year. More than 5,000 people died and 62% were attributed to the Taliban. So again, just to keep in mind, can they keep their promises? This is just a peace accord with America. But, okay, here's the but. It's not, I don't want to say it's not truly their fault, but part of the problem with the peace accord is that they could not really work with the Afghan government. There were a lot of problems since last year, right? So when Taliban released 1,000 prisoners, at first the Afghan government refused to release the 5,000 prisoners, Taliban prisoners that they said they're going to release. So this again led to this very contentious relation between Taliban and the Afghan government. So if the Afghan government are not willing to negotiate with the Taliban, why would they keep to their side of the promise, right? So it's like everyone needs to keep to their promises. But eventually the government released the 5,000 prisoners. But then the Taliban said, release more. But the government refused because they want the Taliban to release more soldiers. So this was the back and forth bickering between the two sides. So on one hand, it's like, yeah, like I said, well, of course, the Taliban would not fulfill their entire conditions unless the government would meet them halfway. Okay, what explains their success in the sense that the 2021 offensive, why was it so quote unquote easy, right? They captured Kabul so easily. I add this here because a lot of people have asked me this actually, so I figured why not. So as you can see from the poll there, there's a Pew study that's from 2013, but I think it's still relevant today. So if you look at it, when they ask people, Muslims, whether you favor or you oppose Sharia as the law of the land, look at Afghanistan way down there. 99% of the people polled are in favor of Sharia law. So if you can understand this mindset of the people, they want Sharia law and the Taliban is talking about Sharia law, it's not very difficult to make the connection why the people are quite supportive of the Taliban coming back into power. Also there, I put the point there, a late 2019 survey by the Asia Foundation of 18,000 Afghans found that 90% of those surveyed strongly supported negotiations with the Taliban. Basically, the people were tired of fightings, deaths, bombs, attacks. People were just fed up to a point that they said, can you just talk to the Taliban? Can you just find a solution? Can you just negotiate with them? So these two things tied together explain why it was relatively easy for them to capture Kabul last week. I wanted to say something. So here's another thing that we might want to think about. The violence and the lack of peace in the country for the past 20 years could fairly be attributed to the Taliban insurgency itself. So can you guys follow me? The Taliban created part of the chaos through their insurgency, and then they say the government is not doing enough to protect the people. So they're playing this, again, I would say the psychological warfare, right? They're telling the people, look, the government is not strong enough, the government cannot protect you, but who's doing this attacking? Partly it's them. So again, we're trying to be critical here, right? I'm not trying to put the blame on anyone, we're just trying to be critical here. So because of this, the people just want to solve the violence. But again, it's not very simple. If you look at another survey that I found, this one, they collected 129,800 respondents since 2004, but they published it in 2019. The survey found that 85% of people have no sympathy for the Taliban. So again, it's a mixed picture, right? On one hand, you say 90% wants negotiation, and then another hand, say 85% have no sympathy for the Taliban. But the way I would see it is that the second survey that is from 2004, when the government was still relatively powerful, intact, America was still there, so people felt we don't need to work with the Taliban. But when they see that the violence did not decrease over the years, then it came to the point of the first point there about how people want to negotiate. So that's how I see it. Another reason that explains their relative success is the problem with the Afghanistan security forces itself. They are stretched thin due to corruption. That's the main problem. Yeah, money came into the country. $1 trillion of American dollars came into the country. 2/3 of that goes to American soldier, but still you have 1/3 of that 1 trillion to train and support the Afghan forces. But corruption was so widespread in the country, not just in the government, but also in the military. So what happened is that there are these ghost soldiers or police. What are these ghosts? You have their names as part of the list of personnel, but these people don't exist. Meaning what? Meaning that their salary actually goes to the superior. So that's the level of corruption. So even though the numbers say there are about 300,000 plus security forces, that's not the real number. There are a lot of people who don't really exist. These are the goals. Soldiers and police were unable or unwilling to fight. They're just not motivated. They have no real motivation to fight. They're not being paid properly. They're not being trained properly. Can you imagine if you're not trained properly, do you really want to go into battle with the Taliban that are motivated and disciplined, and they can close rank? So what happened was in July this year, this is just an example, more than 1,600 Afghan soldiers fled to Tajikistan in the north over 2 weeks. They just left. They just left the country rather than face the Taliban. So you can see how weak the security forces are. Another problem, people appointed at provincial level have little understanding of the area and even fewer connections to the people. The problem of centralization. The central government appoint people to these places to lead, but you can't really do this in Afghanistan where the tribal identity is still strong, right? People are still, that's how they view their community. If you put an outsider, how would the people respect or trust these outsiders? And these outsiders also don't really know the people. So this is another problem. You can't just put anyone to lead when you're talking about such countries as Afghanistan. And finally, like I said, also the Afghan government was also corrupt. As a result, they were not able to win the heart and mind of the people. America was already there. America was already providing all the facilities, the military training and whatnot. The only thing that the government needs, if I may suggest or argue, is that the government just needs to prove to the people that we can do this, we can govern. But they did not do that. They did not really win over the people with their kleptocratic behavior, basically the corruption. So because of that, the people were looking for alternatives. So this makes it easy for us to understand why people were supportive of the Taliban. So now we come to this Taliban 2.0, the new approach. This is what we're faced with in the media today. So the Taliban have grown less repressive toward people watching TV in areas they control. Remember in Taliban 1.0 in the 90s, TVs were banned, but now it's fine. People can watch TV, listen to the radio. For example, a few days ago, I read that they're telling government officials to stay at home, to watch the news on TV for updates on when they can come back to work. So there's no total ban on TVs anymore. And the Taliban is also on social media now. So you can see that they're moving with time, right? Phones can be used. For example, last week they set up a WhatsApp hotline for people that need help. But that hotline was banned by Facebook because Facebook claimed that they're a terrorist organization. So they banned it. And of course, the famous quote, I guess, famous, they will have, so this is by Suhail Shaheen, their spokesperson, and he said this 3 years ago in 2018, not last week, not last month, 3 years ago. He said that they will have all their rights, they meaning women, whether it is right for education or it is right for work, they will have it according to Islamic rules. So we see that this changes, again, like I said, it's not sudden. They've come to this point quite a while already. And he said this, if I'm not mistaken, during a talk with the Afghan government back in 2018 in Doha. In July 2019, the Taliban agreed to assure women rights in political, social, economic, educational, cultural affairs within the Islamic framework of Islamic values. So why do I bold within the Islamic framework? Because this is the contentious issue today. What does it mean within Islamic framework? Because back when you ruled Afghanistan into 1990s, 96, 2001, that was your version of Islamic framework. So it's easily for them to go back to that and claim this is the Islamic framework because they've done that before. Of course, they may have changed and they may say the Islamic framework it's based on, I don't know, Brunei's governing framework, or Saudi was also, becoming more moderate this past few years. So this is the problem here. They say within an Islamic framework, but what is that Islamic framework? In fact, if I'm not mistaken, just a few days ago, maybe 2 days ago, they were asked this question again, and the spokesperson replied that the negotiation is going on. The discussion is going on what this means. So he said that he cannot answer, the spokesperson cannot answer on behalf of the Taliban what the Islamic framework meant, because he left that to the higher leadership. They're still discussing it, what it means, this Islamic framework. So this is where the worry comes in for a lot of people, how you define this. But again, in July 2019, they mentioned that no full burqa was required and that just a headscarf was sufficient. So perhaps we're seeing better days. We don't know. I have his sub, but I mean, they talk about providing education and whatnot. So like I stated earlier during my presentation, we don't really know where it's going. What we can do is we can look at how they've acted recently to kind of make our prediction and our guesses. So we can see that recent times, during their regrouping period after the American invasion, the Taliban actually closed some schools, did all the things that they did in the 90s, kept girls out of schools, they did all of this. But then in more recent times, they have been more flexible. They've responded more to demands by local communities to keep schools open, including for girls. The idea is that it all depends on the local commanders. So remember what I mentioned earlier about the horizontal and vertical connections. So this is another thing. It's difficult for them to control. The local commanders have certain flexibility, certain autonomy on what they want. So there were some schools that opened recently. So again, if you want to brand the Taliban as an all-evil organization, is not totally correct, I guess, but you still need to be careful. So in terms of politics, since 2011, they have stated they are not interested in re-establishing a political monopoly, meaning that they're willing to work with the Afghan government. In fact, they've said before that they wanted to capture Kabul through political settlement. They wanted to talk with the government. But what happened was the president left, security forces left. This is what they claim. The Taliban claimed that before they entered Kabul, security forces left. So they had to come in to ensure to ensure that there were law and order. Sorry, there was law and order, there was security, so they had to come in. But the world see it as, it's a military offensive. But they've said before, since a decade ago, that they want to have a settlement with the current government. In fact, just 5 days ago, they met with Hamid Karzai, the former president, the first president, and Abdullah, the leader of the Peace Council. So it shows that they're really holding on to their words, that they're here to talk, they're here to discuss on the next move for the government. As I put there, they did not kill the president, as opposed to what I mentioned earlier in the 90s when they killed Muhammad Najibullah. So again, perhaps there is some improvement, but there has been no sign to any future political system legitimized by general elections. Meaning that, okay, on one hand, you're willing to talk with the government, good. But on the other hand, what does the future look like? Are you going to have general elections? We don't think so. They've never talked about that. Most likely, they will be the same system as they had before. The top leaders would select members in his Shura Council, and then you have the regional Shura Council. Most likely, it would look like that. So, yeah, so how inclusive could it be if you don't have a general election that include the people? The Taliban's current political practice shows no positive changes towards any political freedom or political participation. Like I said, so it's going to be a top-down. Whatever they decide, it goes. All evidence suggests the Taliban still believe in restoring their old system of the emirate. However, local communities in areas the Taliban control appreciate their effort to limit corruption and their running of an effective judicial system. The point here is that we, outsiders, observers, may talk about political participation, political freedom, rights of people to participate. That's not really the concern of the people, right? The people at this moment, they don't care if they don't get to vote. They don't care if they don't get to have to assemble, to have associations. What they want right now is to end the fear of corruption, the threats of looters, because I've been told by a few people actually that they do feel safer today in Kabul, in the sense that previously the police forces, the security forces was really weak. Remember, I already mentioned that earlier. So people don't really trust them. They don't feel safe. But now when the Taliban is in Kabul, they felt safer in terms of their personal security, belongings. And this is what the people want. So in order to understand the Taliban, we need to look at it from the people's perspective, right? And final point I have there is that they also allowed foreigners to leave peacefully since the fall of Kabul. In fact, they escorted the foreigners who wanted to leave to go to the airport. So they are staying true that they are not going to go on a revenge rampage against foreigners, against people who work with the government. Not so far. So far, they have been very cooperative with foreign forces. Now I have some allegations. So those are all like nice things that's going on. But we have some of these allegations as well. First, that Taliban massacred members of the Hazara minority in July 2019. So this is like 2 years ago, but it happened under Taliban rule in the north. So why is this important? The Hazara is a Shiite minority in the country. So they're talking about protecting minority rights. So people are questioning, will they, if they could do this, kill members of the Hazara community 2 years ago, they could easily do it again. But again, we're hearing different stories. For example, when was it? I'm trying to think. I think in 2019 as well, if I'm not mistaken. The Islamic State, remember them, IS, they bombed a maternity ward where the Hazaras were at. And the Taliban condemned that attack. This is, I think, like 2 years ago. The Taliban condemned the attack. So we see that perhaps there is, again, this shift towards more inclusivity with the minorities. And also, I've also read that this massacre, again, was committed by the different militant groups affiliated with the Taliban. So that's why I say remember that horizontal network that I mentioned. And then this is also recently, we heard about Taliban rulers asked families in the north and northeast to marry off one girl per family to their fighters. Women should not leave home without a male relative. Men ordered to pray in mosques and grow beard. This is from Afghan radios. So again, this goes against what they claim that they want to do now, right? They say they're no longer doing all of these things. They're going to give women their rights. They don't need to wear burqa and things like that. So how do we read this then? Again, my suspicion, if it's true that the Taliban did not order this, then it has to be some of the militant groups. Yeah. And the next thing, Taliban was looking for individuals linked to the previous government. This is from the Norwegian Center for Global Analysis, because again, the Taliban claim that they're giving general amnesty, meaning that everyone who worked with the government previously will not be attacked. Basically, they will be left alone. They will be forgiven. But there were claims that the Taliban were looking for these people, and in various places across the country, not in just one place. Last week, there were shots fired during demonstrations in Jalalabad during the Independence Day, where there were ruckus over the flag. But I think, again, the fires are shot to disperse the demonstrators. And my final point there is, if you follow the news, a lot of them are saying it's very quiet in Kabul right now. people are slowly coming back to normality. Is that a word? They're starting to go back to the bazaars and whatnot, but it's still relatively quiet. So my question is for us to think about this. Is this because of peace, meaning that, oh, it's quiet because everything is so peaceful, or is it because people are afraid to go out at the moment? And that is why there's this quote unquote peace and quiet, because people are staying at home. My suspicion is it is the latter. The quiet right now that we're seeing is due to people afraid, because if you read the news, if you read and you hear people in Kabul, what they're saying is that they're saying things like, I'm afraid for my life, so I'm not going out. I'm afraid what they're going to do to me, so I'm not going out. I have so and so position, so I'm afraid what's going to happen to me. They are afraid of the Taliban still because of what they've experienced previously. So on one hand, we can understand their fear. It's not unfounded. It's based on history. So they have this fear, but the thing is, this fear, it has not been proven, I guess, has not been proven widespread, especially in Kabul, meaning that, is this fear real or not? That's what I'm trying to say. When they're afraid of the Taliban, should they be afraid or not? Anyway, that's the whole point of this discussion tonight anyway. So this is what's going on. I have, as you can see there, this is, it's a propaganda basically. So people were reporting that Taliban soldiers were detaining people in the streets of Kabul. It's getting worse by the hour. Western media is trying to show that the Taliban is this atrocious organization that just kill people wherever they find them. But from what I've read, what I found is that the green building there is a safe house for looters, for petty criminals, because when the Afghan forces left, when the security forces left, so all these people were taking advantage of a lack of security, so they were looting. And then they were hiding in this green building, this safe house, and the Taliban were tipped that they were there. So that's why they came to arrest these people. Again, showing that it's all about security now. It's all about maintaining law and order. I've also read things like, when the Taliban arrest people now, today, they would bring them to the police station. They no longer, take matters in their own hands. So a lot of things for us to think about. So anyway, I said there's quiet in Kabul, but we've all seen the videos of what's going on in the airport, right? In Hamid Karzai International Airport. So yeah, that is a place where it's basically chaotic until today, because people are still trying to live. The people that, like I said earlier, that were afraid of the Taliban based on history, they're still trying to live. So what the Taliban was doing was they're trying to maintain a certain distance between the people and the airport, but videos captured the chaos basically, right? We saw all the images of the chaos that was going on, and they focus on that. So take that how you will. I'm going to move on. Here are some alternative views on what I found on how we can read what's going on today. So the first there on the left there, many are still, that's from the BBC, many are still trying to establish what life under Taliban rule will look like. One taxi driver tells me he ferried a group of fighters across the city, was playing music from the car stereo. They didn't say anything. He tells me he was grinning. They're not strict like they were before. So remember, before music was banned, so now they don't mind that this taxi driver was playing music, Right, the next one is again about propaganda. This person was claiming that, if you look at the picture, you look like, oh, it's a scary picture. 3 Taliban fighters with their guns talking to one woman. It looks like they are really anti-women, something like that, right? Anti-women's right. They're putting fear in this woman. But then someone came in and explained that actually that picture is about this woman, Sakina Amira, who was interviewing these 3 Taliban members. And that guy took the photo. So it's not really what they claim to be. It's actually kind of a civil, I guess, civil, what should I say, activity is between a female reporter and Taliban members. And the third one there, you can see, we look at the news from Australia first. This young blonde woman has grabbed the world's attention. She was the only female reporter approved by the notorious group, supposedly. But the female reporter actually responded herself, for accuracy, I was not the only female reporter approved. All journalists were invited to the press conference, male and female. There were 2 other Afghan female journalists there, also women much bolder than myself. So we can see how the West tried to portray Taliban as one way, but people from the ground are coming out and saying not really true. So thank you for social media. I guess without social media, we may not know. Here are some more examples. A few days ago, the image on the left was spreading on social media about supposedly Taliban shot a woman because she did not wear headscarf or burqa. I don't remember, but yeah, supposedly that picture was going around. And then later, they said that, oh, sorry, this picture was actually 2 years old. It's from 2019. Although yes, that still happened under Taliban rule 2 years ago, but it's not recent. So we need to be careful. And the next 2, I think you've seen it, is about the Taliban trying to work with different sectors of society. Female health workers, they met with female health workers, and then they met with businessmen and investors, telling them to stay. And the last one, and this is interesting, they met with Sikh and Hindus in Gurdwara in Kabul. So, if we talk about minority rights right now, they're showing that they are willing to protect minorities. So beside the Sikh and Hindus and the Hazara that I mentioned, they're protecting also Shiites during the Muharram celebration. So yeah, so we can see that perhaps Taliban 2.0 is different. Okay, I'm sorry for talking. Oh, okay, not that 1 hour, I'm sorry. So I come to my final slide, I promise. So these are the take-home points for us to think about. The first one is, I think I've mentioned quite a bit already. Attacks are probably done by affiliate groups because of the horizontal networks and the difficulty of the top leadership to control what goes on the ground. So that is possible. I mean, they are affiliated with the Taliban, but they are independent, right? They have their own commander, their own leader. So it's very difficult to lump everything to the Taliban. My second point is, if we think of the moderation theory when we talk about Islamist movement, moderation theory has been used to explain a lot of Islamist movement in the past, 30 years, I think, which is that when Islamists are giving the opportunity and the space to participate in politics, they become moderate because they learn that this is the only way to survive. And if you are a political movement, you want to survive. But the moderation theory usually talks about in a national framework. Now, for example, you can think of like PAS in Malaysia, or the Muslim Brotherhood, or Nahda in Tunisia, even the Islamists in Turkey back in the early 2000s. They had to come to the middle because they need to convince the people that they are here to govern everyone, not just their party supporters. So this is the moderation theory. But now think of Afghanistan. It's not really the same situation. It's not a democratic country, and it's not really, the government is basically gone now. They are in power. So there's no one holding them back. They can do whatever they want. But I'm arguing for this moderation theory if we look at the international framework. If you look at the larger international community, they have to do this, like I said early on, in order to survive, in order to get support from their neighbors from China, Russia, Pakistan. So in a sense, they have to moderate themselves, right? So policy adjustment appear to be driven by political imperatives. In order to survive, they have to. But my worry, I think like I mentioned already earlier, the Afghan government is gone, although we can debate that because the vice president said he is the leader now. American forces are gone. The pressure on them has diminished. The pressure on them to moderate has diminished. So why bother? Why bother moderate? Find a moderate stand when you are alone governing the country now. Basically, you have free hand to do whatever. So this is the fear. The next point is, as a religiously conservative movement, like I said, based on the Deobandi movement, they will not give up on their core values. They have their core values, what they believe in. I mean, this is something that a lot of Westerners have argued about Islamist movements, right? They've said that, oh, Islamist movements, at the end of the day, they want to create a caliphate, so we cannot trust them. And these people have been accused of being Islamophobe. It's the same thing here. You know, ideology can change with time. People might change how they feel about certain things. That's what we hope for. And the next point there is, remember I showed about how the people supported the Taliban and whatnot. If the Taliban is a conservative organization with a conservative reading of Islamic law, and the people support them because of that, great, fine. Who are we to say anything, right? Who are we from the international observer to say they are wrong, they are, abusing people's rights and whatnot. If that is what the people want, fine. But my worry is, how do we know this is what the people want? We don't have an election. How are you going to test that the people are still supportive of them? So this is again another fear. And my final point here is just I want to bring it back to Southeast Asia because of us here, Malaysians. We kind of have to think of how we deal with the Taliban as well. Should we shun them or should we support them? I mean, a lot of countries are dealing with this right now. They're thinking about this. What should they do? Again, if I relate it to the moderation theory, I would argue maybe we should listen to them now. We don't want to shun them like we did before, because that was what actually radicalized them in the 90s, late 90s, right before 9/11, when they lost funding support from Saudi Arabia, they lost support from Pakistan, they became more radical. So the moderation theory also talks about, we have to bring them, talk to them, listen to them, what's their concern, help them where they need. Because what a lot of the developed countries are doing now is, sanctions on Taliban members. They are stopping dollars from coming into the country. The worry is this will radicalize them. If they don't get money, if they don't get assistance, financial assistance, they're going to go back to what they did before. Drug trafficking. Basically drug trafficking. Is this what we want? And then they're going to look for support from organizations like Al-Qaeda again. That's what happened before. They depended on Bin Laden's financial prowess. So we need to think of all of this when we decide, do we want to talk to them or we don't want to talk to them? And this has an influence in Southeast Asia because we can see that even today in Malaysia, we saw how PAS uploaded a congratulatory picture to the Taliban, right? And in Indonesia, 53 people were arrested recently because of this fear that they feel emboldened. So if we can bring the Taliban into the international community, and they truly prove themselves to be moderate now, then this might send a message to other Islamists in Southeast Asia that it's time to put down your guns. It's time to end your extremist values and behavior, because look, even the Taliban has become moderate. So I'm just going to end there for us to think of. And yeah, I have that hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. That's all we can do right now. Yeah, so that's all I have. Thank you very much. Again, I'm so sorry for taking a lot of time. Thank you for listening, and I pass it back to the host, Huzayl. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Syaza, for a very insightful and with I think you bring few numerous perspective from the historical part and the moderation theory, which is very interesting. Yeah, so before we go to the questions, just I think it is interesting if we can have a chit chat for a while about what happened in Afghanistan. So you mentioned that what happened in Afghanistan is that people that don't care about like international community talks about women's rights, human rights, and so on and so forth, right to education and so on and so forth. But people there, they think about stability. They seek for stability. So the question is, I think you've mentioned in the slides, but the question is, yes, Afghanistan is there, and the what is the mechanism for check and balance, and how to know if yeah, they show the progress, the good progress now, and we don't know if in future when there's no check and balance mechanism and so far, there's no institution, and you mentioned how they define Islamic law is not clear. So let's say we give them chance in 5 years to let them be lah. So what happened if another 5 years they came back being 1.0 Taliban? What's your opinion on that?
If we give them the chance, but then they, I guess, abuse that chance and they went back to how they were before, I believe that the international community would be ready to went back in. I know it's not ideal. I mean, that's how it was before. America came in, had this war, 20 years, it led nowhere. We're basically starting back from square one because they came to defeat the Taliban. Now the Taliban is back in power. But America has given that, not promise, but America has given that, it's more like a threat, when they say that if they do go back to how they were, America would be ready to attack again. And America has shown that they can defeat the Taliban within 2 months. So that is the threat, that America can defeat you again if you dare do that. And I think NATO is saying the same thing. So that is how we are going right now. And even international NGOs, they're ready to come in for humanitarian assistance. So all eyes are on them. If they make one mistake, I think that's what's going to happen. But again, like I said, it's going to be a cycle again then. So what if America defeat them again? And then what? What's the other option? We've already tried this, we've already experimented with this. But yeah, that is my guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting, Doctor. Meaning that the check balance mechanism didn't come in the national level, but from the international community itself.
Yeah, because the institutions are weak. Afghanistan is obviously a weak state. It's not a failed state yet, but it's a very weak state with very weak institutions. if the previous government under Ashraf Ghani was also, you know, there's no real check and balance on that executive power, then I don't think there would be real check and balance on the Taliban. But remember, they also have a lot of tribal groups in rural areas of the country, other militant organizations, militant groups, I guess, in other parts of the country. Maybe these groups could be the check, could check the Taliban government, perhaps, but they're not as powerful, they're not as resourceful as the Taliban, but perhaps that is one mechanism that I can think of on the national level.
Interesting, Doctor. Thank you so much. So I think we can move to the Q&A session. And I'm sorry, anyone that have a question can just write in a chat box section, and also collecting questions from Facebook as well. So the first question is from Dr. Rabia.
Hi.
And he commented the question on Facebook. She asked that, if I may, how do you think the resurgence of Taliban in Afghanistan affects Muslims in Southeast Asia, especially? We already see the division in society, one in favor of Taliban 2.0, citing misinterpretation by the West, while others fear this will fuel religious extremism in the region.
Right, thank you, Dr. Rabia, for that question. I kind of touched on it in the end there, when I talk about the influence in Southeast Asia. So that is also a worry and a suspicion that the Islamist, and I mean Islamist is Islamist, but the extremist group in societies in Southeast Asia would be emboldened. And like I said, we're already seeing it. Like I mentioned earlier about PAS, and you know, in Indonesia, the intelligence are already hearing noises here and there about possible attacks. So what is going on in Taliban definitely will have a reverberating effect on us in polarizing society. We are already a polarized society. Maybe I should focus on Malaysia, Indonesia being Muslim majority countries in Southeast Asia. We are already polarized. We already have right-wing extremists who are, of course, pro-Islamist, again, right-wing Islamists, extremist Islamists, right? Islamists in general is fine. The thing is that they are contentious in the fact that they think that they are right. This is what makes right-wing Islamists very dangerous, polarizing, because they feel like they are the only one that is right. Their view is right. So what's going on in Taliban right now will make them feel that, I've told you, we are right. I've told you, we Muslims can have this Islamic emirate, Islamic caliphate. If we wanted to, we have Allah on our side. If Allah was not on our side, how could the Taliban have won, right? That's usually their very simplistic argument, isn't it? You know, using religion to explain how things are. So this is the worry. And because of this, I think we should do everything that we can to keep Taliban, to keep them to not respect, to hold on to their words. If they say they become more pragmatic, if they say they're going to respect human rights, we have a responsibility, a collective responsibility to make sure that they do. Because even though that's what's going on in Afghanistan, in today's connected world, you can't avoid that having a ripple effect in Malaysia and Indonesia and the wider world. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. Thank you, Dr. Rabia.
Thank you so much, Dr. Syaza. Hopefully, both of you can extend it. conversation later on. All right, thank you, Dr. Syaza, for the answer. The second question is from Huzayl and Danny, also from Facebook. Thanks, Dr. Syaza. He said, what is your opinion on yet another meddling and supporting of anti-Taliban insurgency groups within Afghanistan once the Taliban has settled in power and exercised de jure and de facto control? Currently, we have seen anti-Taliban riots and protests which might and possibly could culminate in an internal armed insurgency that could be potentially armed and supported by the West to topple the Taliban, creating yet another same old cycle. We have seen how this all started with the CIA supporting the Afghan Mujahideen only because they were against the pro-Soviet Afghan communist government as part of the Cold War. And will the West use Afghan internal politics again as a proxy to set their own agenda for their own objectives, which is supporting anti-Taliban groups by arming them, even if the Taliban has already solidified and become the de facto and the de jure rule of Afghanistan?
Very good question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Huzayl. You're right. We are seeing people like Ahmad Massoud, I think, and like I said, the Vice President, Amrullah Saleh, who are, I guess, fighting against the Taliban, but also the other militant groups that are coming up. I see the possibility, especially in the north. You know, if the Taliban can regroup, they too can close rank. That is possible, but I'm trying to think of the second part of the question, tying it to America. I think the CIA will of course play a role if that is to happen. They would definitely, because Hazan's question was if they would use it for their advantage, and the easy answer is yeah. The easy answer is all countries would use what's going on in Afghanistan to their own advantage. I'm talking about Pakistan, talking about China, about Russia. And when I try to link all of that, the thing is, America's priority is no longer in the Middle East now. America has shifted their priority to Asia Pacific, to China, and that is actually one of the reasons for this withdrawal in the first place, because they've put billions into this war, and it led nowhere. When their real war, if I may say so, right now is with China, and they want to shift their resources there. They want to focus on the trade war, on the technology war with Russia. So I don't think it will be a priority. I don't think America would really pour in a lot of money for other insurgency groups. But again, knowing America, like I said earlier, they might still have a hand in there for their own benefit, because they have their own allies there, India's there, and they have Iran next door, so they need to think of Iran as well. They have the Arabian Peninsula, obviously. So all of this would come into the calculation, with Russia playing a role. But yeah, I think America is ready to shift their attention.
Right, thank you so much, Doctor. Yeah, the foreign policy will be very complex for Taliban. We move to the third question from Faiz from IIUM Kuantan. Is Taliban a singular homogeneous group, or is it an umbrella organization? I think you have answered earlier, but the following question is Tehrik Taliban in Pakistan related to Taliban in Afghanistan? And also, is Haqqani network in Afghanistan related to the Taliban? Are they members of a coalition like political party coalition, or totally unrelated? Yeah.
They are related, but not in a political coalition sense that we might think of. The Haqqani network definitely Tehrik Taliban in Pakistan. I mean, that's a simple answer, that they are affiliated, that they are associated, but they don't really work under one umbrella, I guess, because they have different priorities. The Taliban in Pakistan have been alleged, have been accused to be much more violent in a way, because their stake is higher in Pakistanis politics. The Haqqani network is also known to be much more violent than the mainstream Taliban, but they are affiliated, I might say. I think that's what I can say on that question. I hope that answers Faiz.
If I may extend the question, in what sense they are related with, because you mentioned that they don't really move in umbrella because they have different approaches and also approaches basically. So in what sense?
Personnel, if I may say, the people may move among the organizations. If they're part of the Taliban, but they feel like the Taliban is not doing enough, then they might go to the Haqqani network. And the Taliban in Pakistan may, may supply fighters to Taliban in Afghanistan. So it's about this movement of personnel. If I may, I might relate it to Al-Qaeda in Iraq, and how that division led to the creation of the Islamic State. So in that sense, they are in the beginning, in 2013, like that, they were affiliated, right? IS and Al-Qaeda in Iraq. But over time, because of differences in ideology, they became they totally separated. So it's the same here, different ideology, but the people are moving here and there. If they're not happy with one, they just go to another, and vice versa.
Right, thank you so much, Doctor. By the way, if you want to start presenting, you can.
Also.
Okay. By the way, we have Brother Mustafa. I think I think that they knows him. My classmate as well. He's a Afghani from Afghanistan. So thank you, Mustafa, for correcting that it's people in Afghanistan fight for women rights as well, not just people outside Afghanistan. Okay. We take another 3 questions, I guess. Then we can wrap up. So next question from Muaz Rashid. Is there any chance for international power like China or Russia use Taliban as their proxy in the Middle East? Yes, answer it.
In the Middle East.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because why I say maybe, because I'm thinking of China. China already has close relations with countries in the Arabian Peninsula. So they don't really need Afghanistan to be a proxy for them. But they might use Afghanistan to their benefit to link them to the rest of the Middle East, right? And China has said they're going to pour in money for infrastructure projects and things like that. So that is how I think China might link Afghanistan to the rest of the Middle East. But I doubt it would be very useful as a proxy. For Russia, let's see. Russia's main concern right now is that they don't want the militants in Afghanistan to come into Russia, basically, or come to the Central Asia, close to their border, come to the Caucasus. That is Russia's main concern right now with the Taliban. Will it use it as a proxy? Not so sure. If I may say, I'm not so sure. But yeah, those are the 2 main concerns of these countries.
Right, thank you, Doctor. Next question from Amma Shahmi. The question is regards to the recognition of Taliban as a new Afghan government from other states. So he asked that as we all know, international recognition is very important for the state's sovereignty, and due to that, Taliban recently had made a diplomatic meeting with few states such as China, but many states will does not recognize Taliban as valid Afghan government. Therefore, will other state actors and non-state actors slowly started to recognize Taliban's government if they really form a inclusive government, and also will US remove Taliban from their terrorist list in recent time? Yeah.
I will start with the last. Well, based on America's list on FTO, Foreign Terrorist Organization, Taliban is actually no longer on the list. Only certain Taliban members and affiliates are considered individual terrorists, I guess. But as an organization, they've not been on the list. I'm sorry. The question, for about international recognition. I think if the Taliban can really show and prove to the world that they are serious about being recognized as an effective governing body in Afghanistan, I think countries are willing to recognize them. Maybe for the Western world, it would be a bit more difficult. And the question was also about non-state actors. So I'm thinking like NATO, the UN, the European Union, they would be a bit more skeptical to recognize the Taliban at this point. But because of that also, then if you look at the wider geopolitics, then we can understand why there's other countries might quick to fill that gap, right? Like Russia and China and Pakistan. Maybe Iran, although that is a bit more problematic, the relationship between the two, but other countries are coming in to fill the gap and trying to bring the Taliban into their sphere. I'm thinking, what else? What other national organizations? Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe like ASEAN. It will be a long way. I think the closest neighbors to Afghanistan would be the first to recognize. If they do later on, like I said, if Taliban can show and prove that they're serious, the neighbors would be the first, and perhaps other Muslim countries will be next. Saudi Arabia, UAE, maybe Qatar, and towards the end, perhaps the rest of the Western world. So that is how I see it.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I think we reserve the best for the last lah, for Mustafa to have a verbal. If you have a response or questions, you may within 5 to 6 minutes. Yeah.
Hello. Assalamualaikum everyone. I just wanted to add on some points on there. Like right now, there is one thing that has to be clear. It's that Afghanistan is not a Middle East country. Afghanistan is Central Asia. Secondly, is that about the control of Afghanistan. It's now not controlled fully by Taliban. There are there is Panjshir, which is not under the control of Taliban, and there is the son of the Ahmad Shah Massoud. He's in the resistance. He's there ready to fight against Taliban. So I think that's the thing that I wanted to say is that Madam, I'm really thankful for your thoughtful ideas about Afghanistan. And one thing that my people were thinking is that before the Taliban, there were no Sharia law. Of course not. Afghanistan was based on Sharia law, even before the Taliban. And this is what's the biggest question, why Taliban are fighting against its own people, Muslims. But if we're talking about the corruption, yes, the corruption, the chaos that's happening right now, and the things that has not been mentioned, some of the points is that why Taliban is right now in capital city. They promised they will not enter the capital city, Kabul. Well, they enter capital city because the president escaped and he ran away. with dollars, and it's all his fault because he was warned a month before all of this by the American intelligence that there will be an attack, and of course actually there was no war. Afghanistan has lost no battle, and there has not been any war. They all surrendered, and it was a project. In my opinion, it has been a project since many years ago, since the time that the president Hamid Karzai was in the position. This was a project to bring back the Taliban in position, to empower them, and to take the power from other tribes like Tajik people, to take those people out of their position. And this was a project. This has been a project. They have left the country in chaos because of this. They left the Kabul. Why? Why they left the Kabul? Even though the Taliban said we will not enter there until there is a negotiation, but they left Kabul, and they all left it, and they left the palace president for the Taliban. They had to enter because the chaos happened. They were people looting and all that, and that's the points that I want to mention. Why it might be a question for people why there is a chaos in Afghanistan. Firstly, it's because that everything happened overnight. It was taken by surprise. That the people didn't expect that they will enter Kabul. So once they entered the Kabul, everyone started running away and hanging on plane and all that, is because of the government failed, and they left, and they was left with no leader. And there were cases that people pretended to be Taliban and they looted other members of the former government. So because of that, Taliban is right now in Kabul because they wanted to take over the control. And the chaos is actually happened due to the fact that the president and the president left the country without negotiating it, or else Taliban wouldn't even enter Kabul. And that's the fear that now people are having. And the things that we are seeing right now, the promises that the Taliban are making, we are not sure, because they are not recognized by international communities, except some few countries like Saudi Arabia. But we don't know, maybe later on they will change. There are some rumors that they are saying the Taliban is talking about 20 days. After 20 days, there will be laws, there will be changes, and also restriction on women. They can go to university, they can go to classes, but they must have a separate class. But it's not possible. They don't have much female teachers to teach them. So these are the current issues ongoing, but we are hopeful for a better future of Afghanistan. And it's just very confusing at the moment. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Madam, for your thoughtful ideas about Afghanistan. I really appreciate it. I've learned a lot in here about the cases, and I just wanted to add some points into it and to clear things. Why it is a big question for people. Why is the Taliban in Kabul, and why the chaos is happening? And interestingly, that Taliban member said, for Iranian, if they said, if US right now tell you that we will take you to US, of course the same chaos will happen anywhere else. Even in Iran, a lot of people will run to the airport to get out of the country. So that's what's happening right now. But the airport is under the control of US forces, and outside that is under the control of Taliban.
Thank you so much, Brother Mustafa. Before we end, Dr. Syaza, have any response?
Oh no, response no. I mean, thank you, Mustafa, for giving an insight. I think your viewers will appreciate that. But I think I mentioned that actually in my presentation. I mentioned earlier that they wanted a political settlement, but instead the government left, leaving no security forces, and therefore Taliban felt a duty to enter, and they entered overnight, like Mustafa said. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you so much, Brother Mustafa, and also Dr. Syaza. Maybe before we end, yes, we know that the issues in Kabul related to Taliban is very complicated and very complex. And even the Western media, it's not just the Western media, it has the proxy. Some inclined to liberal, some inclined to Republican. So for us Malaysian students as well, what is your advice on how to stay informed and how to avoid from being misinformed?
question. I'm trying to think how best to answer it, because I'm sorry, I know it's not a very sexy answer, but I tend to take a middle path, a more neutral position, in the sense that on one hand, of course, the West are screaming about human rights abuses and things like that. But on the other hand, I also disagree with some people who immediately call these people Islamophobe. Just because they have their idea of human rights, and so we immediately attack them and say, oh, you guys are just, you hate Muslims, you are just Islamophobes. It's not, what's the right word? It's not beneficial to anyone. It's counterproductive to keep on fighting. You know, on one hand, this person say this, and then we Muslims become defensive and we say this. So my advice to students is also to avoid this, to avoid taking an extreme position, either one way or another. In terms of the media, it's difficult. I have to be honest. It's very difficult, because what we have are mainstream media, which is telling us from the, like you said, from the Western liberal perspective. But also, I think, like in my presentation, I mentioned, thank you for social media. We have that now, at least, you know, at the very least, we have social media to kind of balance what we're reading and seeing on the news. I mean, there was no social media in the 90s, and that's why we get all of this barrage of information of the Taliban as this barbaric group of people. So yeah, my advice is just be careful. Just try to do more research. Whenever I get like a ping of a news about, for example, I'll give a simple example. I got a ping about the Hazara massacre, and I was curious, is this really happening? And then when I go into it deeper, then I saw it was 2 years ago, but they bring it up today because they have their own agenda. So this is what I'm saying. You see a news, try to just dig deeper. Yeah, that's all the advice. I mean, you guys are students, you do it on a daily basis, right? You have to read, you have to analyze. So just continue with this even in your daily activities regarding reading on what's going on in the world.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor. I think we come to an end. And thank you so much, Dr. Syaza, for share with us a very insightful information, and also the reality what happened in Afghanistan, and the very, I think, in-depth sharing.
You can say long.
No, yeah, details and in-depth on what is Afghanistan even before 1.0 and now 2.0, and what's next for us to expect. And your key question is the quiet now in Kabul is because of fear or because of peace. There's something that we have to ponder. And also your last advice for us to stay informed and be careful to any information that we receive in this social media era, which information is easily can be posted anywhere. Right. So to end, thank you so much, everyone who are coming in Zoom session and also in Facebook. Don't forget to follow VIRTUAL in all social media platform, Instagram, Facebook, and also Twitter. And stay tuned for next program. Inshallah, we will be having a virtual symposium in the future. So before we end, everyone can open the camera to have a photography session. Yeah.
Thank you, Huzayl, and thank you everyone for organizing this.
Thank you so much, Doctor. All right, photography session before we end. Anas.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So for those that would like to be in the picture, may turn on your camera and we will screenshot. We'll give around 30 seconds. Right. See a few more people. Okay, we'll take the screenshot now. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone, and Assalamualaikum and good night.
Thank you, everyone. I'm sorry if I misspoke or anything. I hope everyone learned something and I've definitely enjoyed the experience. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Assalamualaikum, everyone.
Salam.
Thank you so much, madam.
Salam.
Thank you. May Allah bless you. Thank you, everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you for the very nice
Thank
talk.
you, Brother Mustafa, for joining.
Yeah.
Thanks for making this opportunity to listen, all of you. Take care, everyone.